Today I want to read from Psalm 46. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth should change, and though the mountains slip into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains quake at its swelling pride. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy dwelling places of the Most High. And then verse 7, the Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold. And then verse 10, cease striving and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. This is a very famous psalm and a great psalm for times of anxiety and fear. And maybe it's a more eloquent psalm than any of the other psalms when he talks about here, we will not fear, though the earth should change and though the mountains slip into the heart of the sea. It's interesting that Psalm 46 was written in a time when it was normal to besiege cities, and sometimes you could actually sack a city and you could get through the walls and you could defeat it. Surely they knew that it was an exaggeration to say that mountains could slip into the sea, but today we have bombs that could do that. We are actually living in times where we face that. It's possible to do that. So what it's talking about here is earthly cities which can be besieged and bombed and destroyed. And it's contrasting that with the heavenly city, the city of God. When it says there is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, it's telling us this, that when an earthly city had a river running through it, it was actually much harder to besiege that city. If you had a water supply that was coming through the city, if it had fish in it and things like that, it was more difficult for an invading army to bring that city down. But what this is saying is the heavenly city has a river. It's the Spirit of God. It's the power of God. And that means while any earthly city can be destroyed, the heavenly city cannot be destroyed. Now, what difference does that make? Every Christian lives in an earthly city. We are a citizen of some earthly city. I'm a citizen of Eastman, Georgia. But every Christian's real citizenship is in the heavenly city. That's why we read in Philippians chapter 3 and verse 20, our citizenship is in heaven. And that's why we read in Luke chapter 10 and verse 20, our names are written in heaven. You see, if you're not a natural born citizen of the United States and you come and you want to be a citizen, then you have to learn things. You have to take classes. There are things that you have to do. In a sense, you have to earn your citizenship. But we're told that our names are already written in heaven by the grace of God. So what this is telling us is that the benefits of our earthly citizenship can be taken away from you. Well, what are the benefits of our earthly citizenship? Well, I can vote. I have the right to choose my leaders. I have certain rights. I have rights in court. I have the right to public schools. I have the right to medical care. There's all sorts of rights that I have. But of course, there's all kinds of things that can take those rights away. A pandemic, war, but nothing at all can take away the benefits of my heavenly citizenship. And what are those benefits? Well, Jonathan Edwards wrote a sermon when he was just 18 years old. In fact, it's the first sermon that we know of that he ever preached. And it was a sermon on Christian happiness. And the 3 points to his sermon went like this. He said, if you're a Christian, number one, your bad things will turn out for your good. Your good things can never be taken away, and the best things are yet to come. Your bad things will turn out for good. That's Romans 8:28, for we know that all things work together for good to those who love the Lord, to those who are called according to his purpose. Secondly, the good things that you have can never be taken away from you. What are those good things that we have? Well, we're justified by faith. We are adopted into the family of God. He's not just our boss or our king. He is our Father. You have the Holy Spirit. These things can never be taken away. And then thirdly, the best things are yet to come. You see, the worst thing that can happen to a Christian is you die. And then, of course, all it does is actually put you into the Father's arms, puts you right before the beauty and the glory of Jesus. So Jonathan Edwards says, if you know all these things, you don't have to be afraid. Let me just read you a small quote from his sermon. He wrote this when he was only 18 years old. How joyful and gladsome must the thoughts of Jesus Christ be to a Christian. To think how great a love Christ has for us, even to lay down his life and suffer the most bitter torments for our sake, who also now continually intercedes for us at the throne of grace. To consider that so great a person as the eternal Son of God, who also made the worlds, is not ashamed to call us brethren, who will come in and sup with us, and us with him. And we will see his arms expanded to embrace us, and we will see him offering himself to be embraced by us. Therefore, you may now look down upon the whole army of worldly afflictions and suffering, and you can consider with joy that however great they are, and however numerous, even though they might join all their forces together against you, and put on their most rueful and dreadful habits, forms and appearances, and spend all their vigor, violence, and strength against you, they cannot do you any real hurt or mischief, and it will all be in vain. You may triumph over them all if you know these things.